while everyone else is drowning in a puddle, you're watching the storm like a movie. If you've ever wondered why you're eerily calm when things go wrong, it's not a flaw. It's the rarest form of resilience developed through deep struggle. Today, let's talk about why your mind handles chaos differently. You know that moment when everything's falling apart around you and everyone's panicking, and you just aren't. Maybe it's a crisis at work, maybe someone's having a meltdown in your family, maybe the world feels like it's on fire, and you're standing there almost weirdly composed. Not numb, not checked out, just calm. And here's the thing people notice. They look at you like you're either incredibly strong or slightly broken. And honestly, you're not always sure which one it is yourself. Let me tell you something important. That calm you feel, it wasn't a gift you were born with. It was forged. And I need you to understand this because so many people who carry this kind of composure don't realize they paid for it with years of having no other choice. Think about it. When did you learn to stay calm? Was it when everything was going well? Of course not. You learned it when the ground was shaking and no one was coming to steady you. You learned it when you were young and the adults around you were the ones losing control, so you became the steady one by default. You learned it when life handed you situations so overwhelming that your nervous system said, okay, panicking isn't helping, so we're going to try something else. This is where it gets interesting. There's a concept in psychology called stress inoculation. And it's essentially this: when you're exposed to manageable levels of stress repeatedly, especially early in life, brain builds pathways to handle it. But when those levels weren't always manageable, when you had to survive chaos without support, your brain built a system that doesn't just handle stress. It anticipates it, it expects it. It's always a little bit ready for the bottom to drop out because, well, it has before. So while other people are experiencing chaos as this shocking deviation from normal, you're experiencing it as Tuesday. Your baseline for what counts as a crisis is just higher. And that's not because you're tougher or better. It's because your nervous system was trained in a harsher school. Let's pause for a second because I want to make sure you're hearing what I'm actually saying. This isn't about celebrating struggle. This isn't some what doesn't kill you makes you stronger nonsense. What I'm saying is, you adapted, you survived by becoming someone who could function when things fell apart. And that adaptation is still with you, even when you don't need it anymore. Here's what happens in your brain during chaos that's different from most people. When a stressful event occurs, your amygdala, that's the part of your brain that processes threat, sends out alarm signals. For most people, especially those who grew up in relatively stable environments, this alarm is loud and immediate because their system hasn't had to triage real danger very often. But for you, your prefrontal cortex, the thinking and planning part of your brain, has learned to intercept the alarm. It's like you have a split-second head start on emotional regulation because you've done it 10,000 times before. You're not less affected by the chaos, you're just faster at sorting it. Your brain is running a background calculation. Is this actually dangerous or just uncomfortable? Have I survived worse? What's the next logical step while everyone else is still at, oh my God, this is happening? And I understand if that feels lonely sometimes, because while everyone else is allowed to fall apart, you're the one people lean on. You're the one who stays functional, the one who makes the plan, who keeps it together, who doesn't add to the panic. And sure, it feels good to be capable, but it also feels exhausting to never be the one who gets to lose it. This is something I really want you to sit with. Your calm isn't the same as being okay. You can be completely composed on the outside and still carrying a tremendous amount internally. A lot of people who stay calm in chaos are actually just really, really good at compartmentalizing. They've learned to put the emotional reaction in a box and deal with the practical reality first. And that works until it doesn't. Until you've stacked so many boxes inside yourself that you don't even know what you're carrying anymore. There's research on something called emotional granularity, which is basically your ability to identify and name specific emotions. People who stay calm in chaos often score lower on this, not because they're emotionally unintelligent, but because they learned early that naming the feeling wasn't as important as managing the situation. You learn to skip over "I'm scared" and jump straight to "what do I need to do?" So here's where we need to shift something. Your ability to stay calm is genuinely valuable. It's helped you. It's helped others. But you don't owe the world your composure at the expense of your own emotional reality. You're allowed to feel rattled even if you don't show it. You're allowed to process later. You're allowed to need support even though you're the one who usually provides it. Okay. Let me tell you what I've noticed about people like you. You tend to be incredibly attuned to other people's emotional states because you had to be. When you grow up around instability, you learn to read the room like your safety depends on it. Because sometimes it did. You became an expert at tracking other people's moods, anticipating their reactions, adjusting yourself to keep things stable. That hypervigilance doesn't just go away when the environment changes. You carry it with you. You walk into a room and you're already scanning. Who's upset? Who's tense? What's the emotional temperature here? How do I need to be? That's exhausting. And it's also a form of intelligence that doesn't get recognized enough. You have a sensitivity that was sharpened by necessity, and it's given you an incredible capacity for empathy and situational awareness. But it's also meant that you've spent a lot of your life managing other people's emotions while quietly setting your own aside. This is where it gets really important. If you've built your identity around being the calm one, the steady one, the person who doesn't break, there's a part of you that might feel like you can't afford to fall apart. Like if you did, you'd lose something essential about who you are. And I need you to hear this gently. You are more than your ability to stay composed. Your worth isn't tied to how well you handle crisis. You don't have to earn your place by being useful in chaos. One of the most healing things you can do is learn to recognize your own stress signals before they become a crisis. Because here's what happens. You stay calm through the immediate chaos. You get everyone else through it. And then 3 days later or 3 weeks later, your body sends you the bill. Maybe it's insomnia. Maybe it's a headache that won't quit. Maybe it's just this heavy exhaustion that doesn't match what you think you should be feeling. That's your nervous system trying to process what you didn't have time to process in the moment. Now, your body keeps the score, as the saying goes. And if you're always calm during the storm, your body has to do something with all that unreleased activation. So it shows up later, quieter, in ways that are easier to ignore but harder to heal. Let's talk about what rare resilience actually means. Because I think there's a misconception that resilience is about bouncing back quickly, about not being affected. But real resilience, the kind you carry, is more like a scar tissue. It's strong, yeah, it's protective, but it's also a mark of where you were wounded. And sometimes that scar tissue is so tough that you forget the original injury even happened. The rarest form of resilience isn't about never breaking. It's about having broken quietly, in ways no one noticed, and still finding a way to build something whole out of the pieces. It's about functioning through pain, not because you're unaffected, but because you've learned how to partition yourself. And that's both a strength and a burden. I want to give you permission to rest in the in-between, Not every situation needs your composure. Not every fire is yours to put out. Sometimes the most resilient thing you can do is to let yourself be unsettled, to let someone else hold it for once, to say out loud, "I don't know," or "I'm struggling with this," even though your instinct is to already have it figured out. Yeah? Here's something that might surprise you. People who stay calm in chaos often struggle more with small, everyday stressors than with big emergencies. You can handle a crisis, no problem, but a minor inconvenience, a simple mistake, a small disappointment, those can hit you harder than they should, and that's because your nervous system is calibrated for high-stakes situations. It knows what to do when everything's on fire. But the small stuff doesn't trigger that same override, so you actually feel it more. That's why you might find yourself weirdly emotional over something minor, and then feel ridiculous about it. But it makes sense. Your system is finally letting down its guard because the threat level is low enough to actually process feelings instead of just manage outcomes. So what do you do with all of this? How do you honor the resilience you've built without staying trapped in the patterns that built it? First, you start noticing. Notice when you go into calm mode. Notice what it costs you. Notice the moments when you're holding it together for others but haven't checked in with yourself. Just notice. No judgment, just awareness. Second, you practice letting people see you unsettled. Start small. Tell someone you trust, "I'm actually feeling kind of overwhelmed by this," even if your voice is steady when you say it. Let someone else problem solve for once. Let someone else be the calm one while you just exist in your actual emotional state. And third, you find ways to discharge the stress your body is holding. Movement helps. Anything that lets your body complete the stress cycle, walking, dancing, shaking it out, whatever feels right. Your nervous system needs to know the threat is over. It needs to release what it stored up while you were staying calm. This doesn't mean you lose your ability to handle chaos. It means you stop paying for it with pieces of yourself. It means you build a relationship with your own calm where it serves you, not where you serve it. Okay, here's your micro action for today. Something you can do in under 2 minutes. The next time you feel that familiar calm settling over you in a stressful moment, I want you to pause after it's over. Just 2 minutes. Put your hand on your chest or your stomach and just ask yourself, what did I just not let myself feel? You don't have to do anything with the answer. Just acknowledge it. Just let your system know you're paying attention. That's it. That's the practice. You've survived by becoming someone who doesn't fall apart. And that's beautiful and hard and worth honoring. But you're also allowed to fall apart now in safe places with safe people when the chaos has passed. Your calm is a strength, but your vulnerability is your freedom. So let me leave you with this. What would it feel like to be calm because you feel safe? Not just because you've learned to function without it?